Hey guys, I'm Rick, and that is One Big Pile of Bricks with our amazing guest, Lego Masters New Zealand, Season 1 contestant, Dan!
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We just picked you up from the airport.
You did indeed, yeah. Just
Was it
flown in
exciting
from
time?
New Zealand this morning, straight whisked into the studio. And I know for a fact, New Zealand is always seen to be the poor second cousin to Australia. Was Lego Masters New Zealand going to be the same? Yeah, you bet your ass it was going to be. So when it first started getting talked about, I was a bit cautious. I was a little bit outspoken, I suppose, within the community. And I did get wrapped over the knuckles for some comments that I made about
We all do
Lego
regarding
Masters
Lego, don't
being, the poor second cousins, and if they don't do it properly, then it's going to be a disaster for New Zealand and a disaster for Lego, yada, yada, yada. And then eventually, the word came out that it was going to be a Lego Masters licensed show, it was going to follow the same format as Australia. And I still knew that we weren't going to have the budget that the Australian shows got. But
Every first season's weird like that.
it has to be, because it's still an unknown quantity, right? And to be fair, when we went through the whole process of recruitment and then even into production, even when we turned up on that first day, I still remember the producers going, we really don't know what's going to happen because we don't know what you're going to bring to the game. And we're all like, well, we're going to bring our best, but we don't know what we're going to bring either, because we don't know what's in that room because you haven't showed us yet. So it was a lot of apprehension, right? And so we went there with the attitude that we had to do our very, very best, if nothing else, to show that we could build as well as anybody else given the opportunity. It didn't matter what the quality of the show was going to be like. Didn't matter whether we had, a camera crew of 3 or 30, 3 million bricks or 5 million bricks. We had to bring our A game, and we had to build to the best of our abilities. And I think everybody that turned up on the first day there did that. And we did that all season long. And it was a grind. It was bloody hard. But, we got there in the end. And I think, the editing probably wasn't as crisp as it could have been. Some of the shots maybe a bit darker than they should have been.
Yeah, but it's not Endemol, right? It's not Endemol, the production. Yeah, that's why.
It was produced by Screen Time New Zealand.
Yeah.
So, and I think they did a great job. The crew was really into it. They were all Lego fans. Most of them asked to be on the show because they wanted to be part of it. So they all wanted to be there. They looked after us to the best of their abilities, and we gave them everything that we possibly could too. So,
and was there an audition process?
Yeah, so probably similar to what happens over here. So the first thing is there's that, the casting call or whatever they call it at the beginning, asking for people to apply. This was the story where I was going, I remember now. It's all about getting sidetracked.
Sorry, I do all the time.
So I wasn't going to apply at the beginning because I already had enough of a presence around the New Zealand Lego community that I was known to be somewhat controversial in some people. I was either loved or hated by most people, right? Because of the things I said or the things that I did. And that's what comes with the job of the de facto job of helping to grow a community. Some people love what you do, others hate what you do, and that's just how it is. And so I wasn't going to apply because I really just couldn't be bothered with that. But a friend of mine, Jono, reached out and he's like, bro, we got to do this.
Yeah.
And Jono, he has ADHD. He knows that I have mental health issues. And we get on really, really well most of the time. We just talk a lot. And we knew it would be great for each other. When we were on fire, we'd be on fire. But when we clashed, we were going to clash. And we knew that was going to happen, and we kind of prepared for that. So when he reached out and asked, I couldn't help but say yes. To be fair, I did actually ask Jake, one of the half of the winning team. I did ask him if he would consider doing it with me. And he chose to go with someone else. So that, that's all good. Good on you, Jake. You chose the right partner.
Yeah, but also too, it all depends on, a big part of it is not about the chemistry on set. It's how you're going to look on camera, right?
Yeah,
that's a big part of it as well. Especially like Lego Masters Australia. Half the time they're looking for like bubbly people. They're not looking for talent half the time. Yeah, they don't care if you cannot build.
They're making a TV show.
That's exactly right.
And that's the thing that I think we struggled with, or definitely something that I struggled with throughout the whole process was was that they are there to make a TV show, whereas I'm there for the deep-rooted passion of Lego.
Yes.
And I want to do what's best by Lego and promoting that in a positive manner and all of these other things. And they just want to make a TV show. It's like,
well, that's right. It's the same with like them giving you a certain time limit. You go, well, I can't produce a quality build in this amount of time. If you give me, more time, then I'll produce something better. And you're dealing with that frustration of not being able to create the quality that you
that's
want
a double-edged sword, I think, because not only you could produce something better given more time, because you'd have more time to plan and practice and build and stuff, but also that pressure provides the environment for you to build. And contrary to popular belief, the clock that's on the wall that you see on TV is not there all of the time. I'm sure you've heard this before. So you don't really know what time it is. We weren't allowed to wear watches, and we weren't allowed to have phones.
Wow. So does it only pop up at a certain amount of time?
That's right. So when they come in to do some announcement,
like 3 hours left, they put up 3 hours?
That's it. So we could only really get a feel for time based on when we stopped for breaks and when we went out of the studio to do
when you had lunch or whatever, right? Yeah.
So other than that, you might have a 3 hour, 4 hour build window, and you're pushing the whole time because you don't really know when that time's going to end.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. We've not heard that before, have we?
No, none of the other contestants, because I think everyone's trying to protect their backside without getting into trouble. But that's fine. It doesn't matter. Like,
It
is
Maybe
what it
they
is.
all just forgot about that part of it.
Well, it's just the reality of TV. One of the first questions everybody asks is, when you build for 16 hours, do you build for 16 hours straight? No. No, we don't.
No, there's a break.
No,
There has
we have
to
to
be.
pee,
Right.
we have to eat, we have to sleep. So
Well,
that's just
legally,
how
I
it
don't
works.
think they're allowed to do
No.
it. There's like some weird. I think it's 4 hours or something. You have to have a break. There's some weird thing that they have to give you breaks.
That's it. So we got to have the breaks and all that. So it is a stopwatch. You do get 16 hours, but it's not 16 continuous hours. Most of the episodes were filmed over 2 or 3 days. So, you film the intro. And the thing is, this is the thing that a lot of people, I love telling this one. When you walk through that garage door in the intro, you don't walk through there once. You walk through there about 10 to 12 times.
Be
Oh, dude.
enthusiastic.
Yeah, and you got to try and remember to do the same thing over and over again, because they do the front view, they do the back view.
And then you got to be in the same spot all
and
the
then
time.
they do the crane view, and then there's all these different things where they shift all the cameras around. And so you've got to walk to the same marks, and you've got to do all of that. So the first one, when you first walk in, the initial reaction is genuine, right? After that, you have to kind of put on the reaction a little bit. 'cause
We
you
know. We've
what's
attended a
coming.
few finales, and
So,
a lot of people, spoilers, they
Yeah.
always film 2 finales.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to give it away, right? They don't want you to know who's winning.
Not in New Zealand.
Wow.
No, we knew our finale was filmed once, and that was it.
So they stuck the hot knife in once, and that's what you.
That's it. Yeah. So coming back to that question from about 5 minutes ago about the recruitment or the audition thing. So yeah, they put out the initial call. There was an application that you had to fill in, which you pretty much had to give them all the information. More. There's more information in there than an insurance policy, I tell you. And then from that, if you got a call back, there was a video call, I think it was, with the judge and the casting agent. And then after that, there was another bit of paperwork that we had to fill in, which was kind of like a portfolio, and you had to give them some pictures and talk about things that you'd built in the past. Next was a audition, and then, or maybe it was the audition, actual physical audition, and then the portfolio. I can't remember. And then there was a final kind of interviewee type thing. And after that, apparently, we were told that the decision was made by Endemol and, the crew, but Lego sign off all of the...
Yeah, so Lego watched the show as well. So how it used to be, it could have changed now, but Lego used to watch, say, season 1 and be like, change that.
Yeah.
Like, because, it's their brand, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's always the way, and they have final approval on contestants. They have final approval on every aspect of the show.
Yeah, they do.
Because they obviously want to protect their brand, obviously.
Yeah, and it's a big brand to protect as well. So,
absolutely.
the rules, there was rules that we had to abide by while filming, for example. And I'm basic rules like, you know, you never refer to it as Lego with an S on the end, you know, that awful word. You never...
I don't know if you guys have it in New Zealand. You mean the pasta sauce? Lego's the pasta sauce?
Yeah, that's it. Legos. No, you never referred to it as that. You weren't even allowed to actually just refer to it as Lego. Oh, we're building Lego. No, because Lego is the company name. Yeah. We had to say, oh, we're building with Lego bricks or Lego pieces. You know, it was always the plural of... So whenever we referred to it, it had to be Lego bricks or Lego pieces or something along those lines.
Interesting.
That's pretty good. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, it's very interesting to hear the different side, right? Because obviously Australia and New Zealand and America all film differently because that's just the way it is. And budgets are different and they have to wait till the new season comes along. But how did you find watching the Australian ones? Because you would have watched them going into the New Zealand ones. Did you feel like that you had to step it up?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I don't think any of us hadn't watched at least some of the Australian series.
Yeah.
I think there might have been a couple of teams that hadn't watched all of it, but there was certainly, I think most people had watched at least some of them. And you can't watch that and think, oh man, we can't turn up here and not do good. Because we'd get roasted, you know. The Australia-New Zealand rivalry has been around forever, right? You know, they don't call us Anzacs for nothing. And if we didn't step up and at least give it a good nudge, we know we would have gotten crap from the side of the ditch. So, you know, you kind of had to. And fair enough, you know, you probably should have. But I think we held our own. And, you know, I think we may not have been up there in that upper echelon of season,
you know,
sort of season 4 of Australia, I think.
Oh, dude, it was next level.
Stepped up another gear.
Well, and also, too, you can't compare with some of the builders they had on there. Like, one of them's been on Instagram forever, Joss, who obviously won.
Those guys, Joss and Henry, oh my God.
They're actually really good dudes as well. They're not stuck up themselves.
They are so talented. I call them kids, right? I'm in my late 40s, so anyone that's sort of
old
under, I'm okay with it. Right. See, I'm even starting to go
You can borrow my
grey,
walking stick if you like.
But so I call them kids, you know, and that's pretty much anybody up to like late 20s as a kid to me.
Because
right?
I mean, your own kids are.
Well, my own kids, my oldest kid's 20, yeah.
That's right.
So, like kids like Joss and Henry, young men like Joss and Henry, the way they build, the way that they were brought up with different pieces to build with, like, you know, back in my day, the 80s, you know, it was bricks, basic slopes.
Nothing exciting.
So I'm used to stacking brick on brick on brick on brick, and that's how I build. That's how my brain works. When I watch those guys build, and even younger kids in their late teens and stuff that are using a lot of bionicle pieces, blows my mind. Those guys are so talented.
It's pretty there. And the thing that I find, when I knew he was on Lego Masters, it sort of gives it away, right? Usually you can tell we get followed by every contestant straight away. You know, you're sort of like, oh, what's going on here? And you see it's a bunch of the same similar accounts, and you're like, oh, these guys are on. But Joss, for a long time, I've been following him forever, and I didn't know what he looked like because no one knew, because he had one of these accounts that didn't show his face.
It's all about a Lego.
We're now, you know, obviously famous, like, but and you look at what he's building, and I've had discussions with season 1 contestants and saying, like, do you think you can compete with that? Like, you can't. It's too hard. Like, you can't go into a room thinking you're going to smash it against those guys.
Not at all. I don't think anyone should ever turn up to a Lego Masters thinking, yeah, I'm going to kick ass here. I'm going to absolutely just stomp on everybody, because you don't know who's going to come out of the woodwork.
Well, and also, too, you don't know how your brain's going to react on the day.
No.
How you're going to feel.
How you're going to feel,
pressure.
temperature.
I am super lucky to have even got through the season. So going back to the whole mental health breakdown in 2018, I haven't worked full-time for the last 3.5 years. And I've been working through with Veterans Affairs to get me back on track and back into the workplace, which is great.
Because Dan was in the military.
I was in the military, back when my skinny days. long time ago in a world far, far away. So people always laugh at that. Eh? Like, you're in the army, you? Jeez.
Yeah, but at the end of the day,
what were you, a
you
horse?
see a lot of things in the army.
Yeah, they're true.
And it changes your psyche.
Yeah, it does. And after that, I worked as a paramedic. So
and that didn't help.
In the end, my brain just went, you can't deal with this trauma shit anymore. So let's take a break. Anyway, so basically it resulted in me not really leaving my house for, a good 4 months in the beginning.
So you had a trigger. Something set you off, didn't it?
Yeah, for that particular mental breakdown, it was. It was a very innocuous thing that happened at home that involved my boy just putting a belt around his neck that he'd taken off. And it just triggered an event that I went to where you can fill in the blanks. And that was it. It honestly, it just opened up this whole cascade of feelings, thoughts, and emotions over the course of a few weeks and a couple of months, or in a month or so, that I just could not control. And I lost all sense of self. I lost all my self-confidence. I lost everything overnight. And I just couldn't for the life of me understand what the hell was going on. And a friend of mine said, look, I think you need to talk to somebody. It sounds like you might have PTSD. And I'm like, nah, man, that doesn't happen, and it did. So I was diagnosed with PTSD. And
do you reckon you had that attitude because in the army you had to be tough?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, for sure. When I deployed overseas to us in army, we came back to New Zealand, and the briefing, for the whole deployment was in a large theatre, and the psychologist walks in and this is into a group of hospital staff, medics. I was a infantry medic, company medic, and all of these other nurses and stuff, and they just walk in and go, everyone okay? Yep, cool. And off they went. I was the only one that actually went to the disaster zone with a bunch of SAS guys. So they weren't with us. They were back at their unit.
Wow.
And I was the only one that went there. I was the youngest one. I was the lowest ranked person there at the time. I was only 20 or so, 19. And yeah, no one saw what I got to see down at the disaster zone. So, I'm not going to sit there and go, well, actually, a little bit cut up about seeing the dogs getting shot down there. And, like, why were the dogs getting shot? Think about it. You're in a disaster zone. There's fresh meat. You know what I mean?
And do you think also too, you continue to have like night terrors from all that stuff?
For a little while I did, but then you just end up suppressing it, right?
Yeah.
And then I left the army in that whole attitude of just take a concrete pill, right? And went to the ambulance service, and ambulance service was no better because I was working mostly with older guys, and they'd been around for 30 years or so. They saw me, oh, you're ex-military, you're okay. You'd go to horrendously traumatic events, and it was just like, oh, you okay? Yeah, of course I am. Yeah. Because you had to be, right? You never, ever admitted that you had any problems.
And also the stigma of being a man.
Oh, for sure. I'm sort of proud to say now, or glad to say now, that friends of mine that are still in the service say that it is completely different. That they are a hell of a lot more focused now on mental health and well-being.
They have to be, because you're seeing stuff you shouldn't be seeing.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's not normal, right? This is the thing. I've grown up my whole life dealing with trauma from the time I was 11 when my sister had a car accident, right through my teens, right through my 20s and into my 30s, thinking that seeing trauma and death and destruction and dismemberment on a day-to-day was normal. And it's not until the last few years where I've been talking to psychologists and all these other people that are like, yeah, no, that's not normal.
It's a big thing, dude. I see a mental health person as well because of the autoimmune stuff. But like, I carry night terrors because my stepfather was not a great person. So Caroline knows for like the last couple of weeks, sleep has been like not great. But you're told as a kid, like, men shouldn't think like that.
Yeah, don't cry.
Don't cry.
Boys,
You'll
don't
be
cry.
fine. But like,
I think I've cried more in the last 3 years than I have in my entire life.
well, it's
I've
all
been
coming
honest
out
with
too,
you.
dude. Right? Like, it's all getting like you're letting it go, and it's
Yeah.
a part of learning.
And then when you're in a situation like Lego Masters, all of a sudden everything that you've suppressed and you're like, right, I'm going to build, all of a sudden that added pressure, it's like a pressure cooker, isn't it?
That was day 11. Day 11.
That's when they brought Smudge in, right? Yeah.
So this is a cool story. It was day 11. It was episode 3. It was an elimination episode. Didn't help. But day 11, I realized something wasn't right. I'd been going downhill since the whole time I'd been there. Because realistically, when we applied, Jono, I knew that Jono knew my story and he knows how to deal with some of the things. Glenn and Jake, the guys that ended up winning, are friends of mine and have been for a long time, and they're in the lug that I'm in back in Wellington. So, and I knew before we left that we were going to be staying in an Airbnb house with Jono and I and Glenn and Jake. So I thought, oh, well, we're going to Auckland, we're going to be staying with mates, we're going to have our own place, and we're going to be playing with Lego. How bad can this be?
Yeah.
That was all I thought about. And I got there, and I was like, first couple of nights, no one really slept very well. Third, fourth night, people were starting to get a bit of good sleep, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it'll happen tonight. No, 7, 8 nights, no, I'm still not sleeping very well. I'm talking like 2 hours a night if I'm lucky. Day 9 and 10, I'm really wrecked by this stage. Day 11, it just all fell to shit, basically. And we're on there, and my mind was just blank. And what you see on the episode, in all honesty, is a pretty damn honest representation of what happened. I was just sitting at the table going, I don't know what the hell to do, mate. And I'm looking at Jono, and I'm like, yeah, we got a suitcase. And Jono's like throwing all his ideas out there, and I'm like, No, I don't see it. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, what about this and this and this? And Jono's really just throwing stuff out there and really trying to get me engaged with it. And I'm just like, I don't know what's going on.
At that point.
And I got up and I walked out. And I ended up just getting to a point. I was like, dude, I can't deal right now. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get some fresh air outside. And inside, I'm dying thinking, fuck, this is it. I've just blown it. The whole thing's crumbling. What's the problem? Why aren't I sleeping? The story behind it was there's a guy that was working on the crew. His name's Colin. He was the president of Auckland. Now, I've known Colin for a long time. We've been to lots and lots of shows together.
Yeah.
Colin is an amazing dude, and he was working on the build crew with Mark Hackett and a few others that were building with Robin to build all the props and stuff.
Yeah.
Colin knows my story, and he knows my dog. And he knows that Smudge is by default my support dog and goes everywhere with me. I take her everywhere, literally everywhere. And he said to the producer, I found all this out afterwards. He said to the producer, he said, something's wrong with Dan. And they were like, yeah, he's not doing well at all, is he? And Colin said, he probably needs a support dog. And they all went, support dog? What support dog? And I never told them about a support dog, right?
Yeah.
Because in New Zealand, we actually don't have provisions for official mental health support dogs. It's not a thing that happens.
Because it's a big thing here. Like, you see them, like, everywhere.
You can get in New Zealand, you can get a certified disability assist dog if you have a disability. Now, PTSD could probably be a disability, but you'd have to go through a bunch of hoops, right? And then try and get a disability assist dog that way. But Smudge, by default, became my support dog because I used to be a drug dog handler. And I know how to train dogs. And I obviously just cued her to do what I needed her to do when I needed her to do it. And she came to all but one, the very first psychology appointment that I went to with my psychotherapist. When I mentioned it to her, she was like, oh, bring her. So she came to every single one after that, 2 years worth, right? And so Colin had mentioned that to the producers. I was outside. Producer came out and he said, I hear you got a support dog. You know, do you think you could get her up here? And I was like, oh, of course, yeah, probably. And so they had to go and ask permission from the crew for a start because the crew needed to be comfortable having a dog
there's
around.
a dog on the set.
Then we needed to ask permission of all of the cast members, all the other contestants. So I asked for that permission, but then they also asked for that permission when I was gone because they didn't want anyone to feel pressured. So everyone else had to agree as well. And then they went and asked TVNZ as well. So. And everyone came back and said, yep, that's fine. You can have the dog up here if you want. So I made a phone call to my wife at about 12 o'clock. And she left work at 1 o'clock and got on a plane, came to Auckland, and she was there by, I think we picked her up from the airport at 6 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So with your dog, right, how does it work on the planes over there? Does she go in stowage like in a crate? Okay.
Yeah, because we have no official capacity.
Yeah, okay.
So she just, comes as excess baggage, actually. And it costs something like $75, I think, or $100 to put them in. So yeah, Erin flew up with her that night. She stayed overnight. Yeah, Erin stayed overnight and then came back the following day. And then when we went back to film, they did the big introduction to Smudge coming on set. So yeah, you know,
it was a really sweet moment.
Yeah, I did know she was there.
Oh, cool.
Oh, you did or you didn't?
Yeah, I did know.
Oh, you
yeah,
did.
because she'd already been there all night. So she got there at 6 o'clock. We had dinner at about 8. I think I was asleep at 8:30 and didn't wake up until the van.
Because your dog was with you.
Yeah, didn't wake up until the van came and picked us up the next day.
Was she in with you?
Shh, she wasn't supposed to be on the furniture.
Well, it's about how long ago did you film Lego Masters? Over a year now?
That was over a year ago.
Yeah, so it's too late for them to chase you for like extra cleaning fees or whatever.
She's not a messy dog anyway, so you know, she's very
those sort of dogs aren't.
Cocker spaniel, isn't she?
Yeah, cocker, 3/4 cocker, a little bit of Springer in there, but yeah. So she was there, and I slept like a baby, the proverbial.
And in your back, like
just like that.
So did you have her on set the whole time afterwards?
Yep. So the deal was, originally when I had the original conversation with the producers, I said, look, you know, I'm just happy to have her up here and have her at the house because my issue is sleeping. I'm really, really struggling to sleep. And they were like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, no problem. How do you think she'd be on set? I said, she'll be fine. She was a drug dog, you know. She's used to going anywhere pretty much. You know, and they're like, oh, okay. because we'd really like to, and I think, no, he said, because it would really make good TV. But we really want to make sure that you're okay while you're here. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Good TV.
Yeah. We'll give and take this a little bit. Yes,
yeah, we can sell some dog food ads with this stuff.
You're doing me a solid, so I'll do you a solid.
Yeah.
So the deal was that I was happy for her to be on set while we were building, and I was happy for her to come in while we were doing the intros, but I didn't want her to be on set when we were doing judging or eliminations, because at that point, it's not about the dog, right?
No, it's about you and your building skills.
That's about all the effort that everyone's put into everything that they've built. And it's okay to show the dog from time to time fluffing around, doing what she does when we're all building and having fun or stressing and doing that sort of stuff. But eliminations and judging time, that's serious time. Yeah. So those times I left her down in the green room in a crate, and she was perfectly happy in there. And we got on and did what we needed to do. I didn't even take her on for the final. Or the final judging or anything like that. I can
understand why, because you need to be fully focused on what's happening. You don't need to
That's right.
Distracted.
Yeah, and the crew need to be focused on the contestants and what they've
not
built.
on this cute little puppy dog that's running around.
Yeah, because to be fair, the day she turned up, we had one of the cameramen. He basically just started following her around for the whole time.
So wow!
We basically lost the cameraman. I think he loved Smudge.
Smudge is a cute dog.
Yeah, most of the crew loved Smudge actually. In fact, all the cast did too. Even the people that weren't really fond of dogs, they all loved having Smudge around. So she didn't just benefit me. I genuinely believe that she did help other people during the course of the filming as well. And the best thing to come out of it is just that little bit of awareness about how the amount of support that an animal can give somebody is pretty much immeasurable.
Yeah.
There's other people that have pets at home, and they would have been missing their pets too.
Yeah, for sure.
So having her on set would just be, reminding everyone.
Yeah.
Also bringing a bit of blood pressure down, I'd say, hopefully.
Yeah, it was great. And look, even Smudge had a few of her own moments, because she's a character unto herself. And there was I can't remember what episode it was. It might have been 5, actually, because we got an extra half an hour because we won episode 4. Where we got to stop everybody, and we told everyone we're going to stop in the last hour so you can have time to think about what you're going to do for the last hour and nail your builds. And we got an extra half hour to build, so we were busy building away, and I turn around and Smudge is sitting on Glenn's knee on the other side of the studio. and I knew something was up, because out of the corner of my eye I could see a camera guy come here, and one was in the middle, and then I saw one over there, and I was like, what's going on? And I turn around and like, oh, you dirty bitch, cheating on me with Glenn. So there was a couple of moments where they really used her kind of personality and her little quirks to make a little story, a little sub story going on.
Well, Glenn not only stole the Lego trophy, he nearly stole your dog.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I do have photos of Glenn with Smudge on his bed at the house. I'm sure he was slipping her the odd little steak treaty, you know what I mean?
And she was happy to go along with it.
Yeah, she's a very foodie dog. So the one annoying thing with her is if you've got food, she is your best friend.
We'll have to visit Caroline when we make time to go to New Zealand and bribe her with treats.
Oh, it's not difficult. It's not difficult.
But I guess that was part of her success with being a sniffer dog. She's got to have something to kind of keep her going, whether it's food or play.
It's super awkward if she sniffed out someone had drugs on the set of
Yeah, I don't know if she would remember. I get that question all the time, and I don't know if she would remember or not whether what she was actually doing. But yeah, food. Nah, she'll go to the ends of the earth for the tiniest little treat, I tell you.
That's hilarious. How did you find Robin?
Robin was really nice.
He's a nice dude.
Really, really nice.
He's a generally nice dude. We've spoken a few times over the internet, met once or twice. He has all the time in the world for you.
Yeah. We found Robin, obviously during the filming time, Robin was, I wouldn't say standoffish. He was distant. He was distant because he had to be, because he was the judge.
You got to remove the emotion, right? So you can just do it.
But you could tell that he wanted to just come and talk and wanted to be an AFOL because that's what he is. So when it was all over and done with, the time, we just got to sit and chat and have a great old time when he was still touring the country, when we'd finished filming. He ended up coming and staying, or he was supposed to stay. with us, but then our house got COVID, I think, so he stayed someplace else. But he visited on the way back, and
Oh,
so
that's
we got
awesome,
we got
dude.
some good time to just sit and chat and talk about
He's
stuff.
really good value considering he was the first and pretty much created the LCP program, Lego Certified Professional Program. He's very down to earth.
Yeah.
And I've met a few LCPs, not the Brick Man, but other ones around the world that are not as good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that you sort of like, you think you're better than everyone else, that sort of attitude, where Robin's just like one of the guys.
Yeah.
And he'll stop and chat to everybody.
Well, the only two that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting is Ryan and Robin.
Who's your favourite?
It's like asking who's your favourite kid. That was like us asking Robin who his favourite team was. That's not fair.
I just got to slide that in there quickly.
They both have their positives and their own merits, right? Obviously, Robin, we went through a journey of doing Lego Masters together. Ryan, I've met a handful of times and had some good yarns with.
I'm quite surprised Ryan wasn't the judge of New Zealand.
I think it had to do with the timing around when we filmed in January. Did they finish?
Yeah,
They
so
did finish.
every season
Yeah,
except the
finishing
current
around
season, which has just finished filming, has finished in January.
In January, yeah. So all of the prep time was during his filming time.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So-
Because I was trying to figure out, like, Robin's coming from Canada. It's kind of a long distance, but it worked out because they have that agreement with Canada and New Zealand and Australia where you can sort of travel and stay for a X amount of time. So, like, it worked out, and Robin's a nice dude. I like him.
Yeah,
like,
for
I know
sure.
some people don't like his building skills, but
They
that's
can
his
say
thing.
What they like.
He's consistent. He knows what he's doing. Everyone's happy with him. So,
Yeah, that's the thing. So Robin brought his own flavour to the entire program as well. So we learnt pretty early on that he wasn't a big fan of minifigures or minifigure scale.
he loves
So
big.
He does love big. Yeah, he does love big. So, Big Fun Colourful was at the top of our page every time we tried to build
Yeah, he
something.
loves his base product is usually Duplo.
Duplo, yeah.
So when he builds like big displays, because I understand, right? When you're building in a shopping center, Duplo is so much easier than building with standard Lego, right? Especially if you're building something. But then he can build something big really quickly.
Yeah.
And that's about keeping the client happy, right?
Yeah, and most of our props in studio were Duplo as well. So
Wow.
the little Fiat car that was built out of Duplo, the big dice, they were all Duplo. The bowling ball cover for Trent was Duplo, and the big Tanifa was all Duplo as well. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Wow. We appreciate you coming down. I had the little from Dan, like, he gives me the little, like,
Time's up, buddy.
you're done. Start walking. But thank you so much, Dan, for covering your experiences, your mental health stuff. I know it's hard with mental health. I do get it. Like, it's not an easy thing to talk about because it is everyone's weak point. Because it's when you're at your lowest, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So we appreciate you sharing everything with us.
No
worries.
And when you finally, or we make it to you, might have to record another one.
Yeah, for sure.
Could record in your studio for a change.
Yeah.
Is it? I don't know how big it is. Hopefully it's big enough, but we'll see.
Not quite this big, but
We're gonna make it happen,
we'll make it work, right? Yeah,
So
we'll
everyone
make it
follow
work.
Dan. I'll put all his social media. It's Building with the Black Dog currently. Is that right? Did I
Yeah,
get it right?
is,
Oh,
yeah,
first
Building
time.
with the
Even
Black
better.
Dog.
So I'll tag him Instagram, Twitch. He is taking a break of Twitch just to have a break to recalibrate himself, but he might come back. You don't know.
Yeah.
But thanks again, Dan. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
That's all right.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it,
you.
man.
Thank you.